it's Haley, and today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 most anticipated releases for winter 2016. So I decided to do something a little bit different this year. Normally I will do my most anticipated releases for the whole entire year, but it ends up kind of being mostly books that are coming out towards the beginning of the year anyways, because those are the only ones that you really have like covers for and like a full synopsis for. So I never really talk about books that come out later in the year. So what I decided to do this year is do it by season. So I'm going to do my most anticipated releases for winter, which is this one. Then I'm going to do one for spring, summer, fall. You get all of that is going on. I believe this section would be called winter. I don't know. These definitely aren't spring releases, but they are any YA books that are being released from January to March. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I'm actually going to go in order of publication because I feel like that makes the most sense. So the first book that I wanted to talk about is Worlds of Ink and Shadow by Lena Coakley. This book is coming out January 5th, so it's already out by the time you're watching this video. I mean, it's already like I don't even know what day it is, but January 5th was way in the past. But this is basically a fictionalization of the Brontes, and it just sounds really cool. I haven't read anything by the Brontes, but I'm super interested in them. I think they're just a very interesting family, so I think a fictionalization of them would be really cool. The next book I'm going to talk about is Frontlines by Michael Grant. This is the first book in a new series that's called Soldier Girl, and this one comes out on January 26th. And it's basically a reimagining of World War II where girls are fighting, and I think that just sounds super cool, really empowering. It's just a really cool concept. So you follow 3 different girls, and they're each fighting for their own reason, and they all are kind of intertwined. So I think it sounds like it's going to be a really cool book, and I'm super excited for it. The next book is Assassin's Heart by Sarah Ahirs. I can't say her last name, I'm sorry, but this is coming out on February 2nd, and it's this really kind of complicated fantasy where there's these 9 rival families. It's kind of a Romeo and Juliet type of story. The girl finds that her whole entire family has been killed, and she thinks it has to do with the family that one of her best friends is part of, that she's rivals with. It is just this crazy fantasy, really complicated to explain, but it seems like it's going to be a really cool story. And really anything that's described as The Godfather meets Romeo and Juliet, I'm all over it. Next we have Reign of Shadows by Sophie Jordan. This is coming out on February 9th, and it is about this girl who is kind of a Rapunzel figure. She is the lost princess because in their kingdom there was this eclipse, and while this eclipse was happening, this evil chancellor dude, he came and killed the royal family so then he could take over. So she managed to escape, and she's kind of the lost princess, and her kingdom is relying on the fact that everyone thinks that she's dead, but then she meets this guy and she wants to leave her tower. It's kind of a story of star-crossed lovers and this whole Rapunzel idea. It seems really, really cool and just super unique, so I'm really intrigued by it. Next is These Vicious Masks by Tarun Shankar and Kelly Zekes. I can't say those names at all, but this is described as being, this is coming out on February 9th also, and this is described as being Jane Austen meets the X-Men, which sounds epic. So it's this paranormal romance set in Victorian London. This girl is just really bored with society, but then her sister goes missing. So she sets out to find her sister. She finds out that someone else is looking for her sister as well because her sister has healing powers. So it's just it seems like this crazy whole thing that's going on in Victorian London, which is a setting that I really love. So I am just really gung-ho for this book. Then we have The Girl from Everywhere by Heidi Helleg. This is coming out on February 16th, and this might be my most anticipated release for this whole season. It's about this girl whose father can go anywhere in the world, fictional or real, as long as he has a map and his ship. It sounds like just such a cool concept, and I'm really excited to see what is done with it. You go like everywhere in the world and fictional places. I mean, that just sounds really, really epic. Next is a book that I'm not gonna lie, and most of these are like this. If I see a pretty cover, and I know I'm not the only one, I'm gonna be intrigued by the book. So this this one, the cover super intrigued me, and this is The Smell of Other People's Houses by Bonnie Sue Hitchcock, and it's coming out on February 23rd. So it is set in 1970s Alaska, and a police car just went by. That was weird. This book is inspired by a true story. It's inspired by the generations of the author's family. I've never read a book that takes place in the 70s, I don't think, and definitely not one that's taken place in Alaska. So I'm really intrigued by this one. It seems like it's going to be really unique and really cool. Next is The Steep and Thorny Way by Kat Winters. I read my first Kat Winters novel this year. I read In the Shadow of Blackbirds, and I really loved it. This one is a reimagining of Hamlet, but the main character is an African-American woman, so there's a bunch of racism towards her, and it kind of deals with that. It brings in like the KKK, like all of that stuff, but in a Hamlet-esque way. It sounds really interesting, super unique, which is definitely a plus, and I am just really looking forward to this one because I feel like it's going to be unlike anything I've ever read before, except Hamlet because it's based on that, but you get what I mean. Next is The Forbidden Orchid by Sharon Biggs Walker. This is coming out also on March 8th, and this one, the main character is the eldest of, I think it's like 10 or something siblings, and her father, he is this plant hunter, so he finds these plants for people. He's supposed to find this orchid, but he can't find it, and because of that, he's going to be jailed. The sisters are going to be separated, put into like foster homes, whatever it is. It's a historical fiction, I think, so wherever you would go at the time, but the sisters are going to be separated. So the eldest sister, the main character, she is going to go with her father to China to try and find this orchid and save their family. It sounds like a really interesting and once again unique story. If you haven't noticed, I'm really trying to look for unique books, and I feel like this one is definitely fitting the bill, and I'm just really intrigued by it. Next is Rebel of the Sands by Aline Elwyn. I can't say that at all. Hamilton, and this is also coming out on March 8th. So this takes place in a fantasy desert world where basically the main character is either set to wed or dead. So she can either get married or she's going to die. So she's obviously really unhappy about that and she wants to leave. So she sees this foreigner and she sees her opportunity to leave, but then it turns out that he is a fugitive and they have a whole entire army after them, and it just was not a good plan. I've been really into the kind of Arabian Nights-esque retellings and like kind of that whole type of world and stuff lately, and I think that this one will definitely be one of those, and it will be really cool. And the final book I wanted to talk about is The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. This is coming out on March 22nd, and this is a contemporary about a girl who was raped by her brother's best friend, and it's basically about her trying to get back to her life as it used to be. It goes through her whole entire high school career as she's trying to live again and kind of accept the tragedy that happened to her. So those are all of the winter new releases that I wanted to talk about today. Let me know if you have read any of these or if you're intrigued by them. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!